for this all my life. You're just my type. I've been looking for a boy who can treat me right.
We are here doing our pod swap with the two hosts of the Coupleish podcast, and I've got my hubby here co-hosting. What's up, honey? How you doing?
I'm doing good.
So I'm so excited because it's been a little over a month since we did your podcast, and there have been so many things that we wanted to talk to you guys about. So welcome to Scheananigans, Iskra and Philip Payne.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So happy to be here.
Yes.
I feel like when you came on our pod, just getting to know you guys, it was like immediate, like, oh, I want to be friends with them. Can we hang out again?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
It was just immediate, like, you guys have the best energy. I
Thank
felt like
you.
I learned a lot from you both. So we're excited to delve back in today.
Yeah, well, same. I felt like I learned some stuff on your podcast as
Y'all
well.
were yourselves on our podcast.
Yes,
Yeah.
the
It
was
most
really nice.
vulnerable, open book guests. I know you're like,
Gotten a
But
little
like,
tip.
oh
They
my
got a
God,
little
when I
tip.
listened back to it, I was just like, Scheana, shut up.
Hey, honey,
Shut up.
shall we just check in with everybody real quick?
We're going to check in
loved it.
physically, spiritually, emotionally. How y'all doing?
Oh, I love this. It's being flipped on us.
Yeah.
Oh, put me on the spot. So lately I have been feeling physically great because
Good.
I'm finally getting back into my like workout flow. And weirdly, we nearly missed the flight getting here because I said, Philip, I'm going to go do some squats. And Philip was like, right now? We're about to leave in 30 minutes. I was like, I don't care. I'm in this mental space of like, I have to get it in.
Yep.
Even if it's just like some squats, whatever it is. Like, and I did obviously put some weight behind it, but I've just been like, fit the 15 minutes in where you can.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I felt really empowered doing that.
The best workout is
I
the
love
workout.
that.
The worst workout, right, is the one you didn't do.
Didn't do.
Oh,
Yeah, I've had a lot of bad ones lately.
but at least you did something, and then you take that motivation and that consistency, and it
Yes.
compiles and compiles until you build accountability, which is a tough one to get to because it's a tough hill to walk up.
Right. And
Yeah.
someone has helped me break that down because I was feeling overwhelmed. I was feeling unproductive. I was feeling like I didn't have enough hours in the day. And someone said, instead of thinking I have to work out and it be this anonymous thing,
I get to.
put it in the minutes. Like
Oh.
literally just be like 15 minutes to move. 15 minutes to tidy up the playroom, 15 minutes. And when you kind of see the minutes and then you look at it throughout the day, you're like, oh, I can fit 15 minutes to work out in.
Totally.
But sometimes when you're in your day and you're like, oh, I've got to work out, it feels like this
Same.
whole big thing.
Yeah.
That was yesterday for me. We had a phone
Yeah.
call at the same time that I was like, no, that's my workout time. And then I didn't work out because then I had the phone call, and then Summer wanted this, and then we're in the sandbox, and then I didn't do it.
Crazy that, right? We literally give everybody else all our time and energy, but when it comes to yourself,
Yeah.
you're the last person on, and you should be
I know.
the first person. Take
Yeah.
care of yourself first, because then you can take care of everybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
But you gotta water your garden.
I know. I don't
so
do
hard
that.
for moms though.
Yeah,
Because we have this mom guilt too.
100%.
Like I feel awful if I know that my child's awake and I could be doing something with them and then I go off and work out and like I have to unlearn that.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like, no, I need to be healthy. I need to be active to,
Well,
be good for him.
Definitely, and I think with kids, it's like they also need that time away from you. So maybe you can remind yourself of that when you want to do it, because you're giving them a time for them to go on their independent little trip around the room and work on their independence, because they need that as well.
Is that what you tell yourself, honey?
Every time I leave that house, I chuck that car in reverse.
Go
I'm
to
like,
my little independent
go
walk.
to the gym. I'm like, Summer will be perfect. She's going to be just working on herself.
The little 18-month-old independent woman she is.
She is.
She really is, though. I know.
It sounds like
Listen,
it.
like I feel like that's the one thing as parents we have now, being parents, we have the best position to do it because we have the references, we have the information, we have the data available on the like, hey, just remind yourself this, maybe you shouldn't do this, maybe you
Yeah.
should do this. And
Yeah.
we've been lucky. We've been very lucky. What about you guys? What is cracking? What's new?
Emotional, I will say. I just launched my hair care yesterday with Saltaire. We also went viral this week.
Oh my God,
We've had
congrats.
some like smallish viral moments, but we went like viral to the point of this one TikToker who's so sweet. Her name's Naya. We flew her out this week just to thank her because she's so sweet. But it was like 3 million views on TikTok, but there was like 160,000 people saved the video. And she was essentially just talking
Wow.
about how much she loves our brand. So that's like
love that.
160,000 people saved the video because they wanted to try and like find our brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the sales were just like, it was wild.
Okay, so for the listeners who don't know what Saltaire is,
Yes.
please tell everyone.
So it's my body care brand, and I really struggled in postpartum to feel myself. It was a dark time. I did not shower. I was not looking after myself. I kept telling myself, oh, you're such a mess. And I said to Philip, I need to get the motivation to just shower, to just get ready, put on some clothes, and just find myself again. And I was like, but I want to get excited when I go in the shower. There's really exciting makeup brands, skincare brands, but there was nothing in the body space. If you walk down your grocery store aisle, it's the same body washes you've seen forever.
Yeah, nothing excites me.
Nothing exciting.
You what, Dove doesn't get you going, huh?
You know?
The cucumber scent.
There you go. Lavender everything.
Right.
So yeah, I kind of envisioned that there was this space in the body care, world, and I got connected with the right person to basically make it happen. And he has this ton of experience in the industry building beauty brands, and we got together and we got this idea that it would be exotic botanicals. We would kind of actually lean into fragrance at a time where everyone was like scared because everyone's been fear-mongered by clean brands. We have clean ingredients, but we've really leaned into fragrance and having a sensorial experience and basically bringing skincare into body care. So having niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, all of these ingredients we use on our face, we're not using on our body. So we decided to input that into our body care products, and people are loving it. It's in aluminium bottles. It looks beautiful.
I love that. Aluminium. Yeah, Brock is so Americanized now that he says
I
aluminum.
I kept my mouth shut just then because I don't know what would come out. I don't know. So I think it's okay, but then and she looks at me. I'm like, oh, that was wrong.
Yeah, he's like, can you pass me the aluminum? And I was like, oh my God, he said
He's
it
a
the American
convert.
way.
It's probably, the wedding and just, he just was like, oh, I'm fully fledged.
To be honest, I think it's exactly that. Like the don't care mentality is really killing me. It's really because I'm like, whatever. Like it is. I got to pay attention. Get back to the books, study a bit more, and get back on top of my stuff.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. So straight back to the body care.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's been really, really wonderful.
That's amazing.
And you know what's so
Congrats.
great about creating a great product is that for somebody to do that now and to have that viral opportunity, it's there for people, right? Especially if you do something that you really believe in or something that you love to do. That's a great way for it to kind of be like, well, actually, there is a chance, and it's through TikTok. Do you know what they're doing now in Asia?
Tell me.
They are making Amazon now, but they've done it front to back. So Amazon obviously has their great distribution system, and then you get paid for creators and you sell your Amazon products. TikTok already has the following. So now they're going to go into the distribution aspect. So now they can fulfill orders through brands.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, heads up. So stay on TikTok, everybody.
I mean, that does scare me a little bit. Not for my own brand, but just for the US. Because when China figure out, they're just going to cut the middleman out.
Yep.
And there is so many brands that I think people don't realize are just imports from China. They're relabeled and they're resold in the US.
That's it.
And that's why those Sheins have come in and everyone's like, how is it $3 for a top?
Yep.
And it's
Right.
like, well, actually, what used to happen was there'd be someone in the US who had a brand that bought the $3 top in, then paid the import, and then basically added their probably 50% margin on top and then resold it to you.
On a discount.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely wild to see that too.
Yeah.
I'm interested, but it's
Back
great.
to our check-in.
It's great.
Back to our check-in. So emotionally, I'm excited and just filled with gratitude, and I knew that it was great and a great product, but the reviews are flooding in and things that people are really respecting the product regardless of me, and that's why it's not called Iskra's body care line. I don't know. I was just I need it to outlive me. I'm pretty exhausted with social media. I'm sure you feel the same way sometimes. So it's great having something that hopefully will live longer than my social media career.
I love that.
And then what we got now spiritually, it's still slacking. Philip's been much better. We've been doing our nightly prayer, and we've been connecting at dinner, but we have not found a church in Austin yet. We've asked a few people to help us navigate that, but
we got to get better at that.
we gotta get better at that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's so much going on.
Yeah.
I feel like it's hard to tackle everything, right?
Totally.
true.
Well, it seems like you're doing a great job.
Thanks.
And congrats with everything with Saltaire. That's so
I
exciting.
appreciate that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right,
Yeah.
Philip.
Okay.
Let's check in.
Where are we at spiritually first? Are we?
Whatever you
Sure.
want to do.
It's your
spiritually,
order, buddy. This is
physically,
your
emotionally.
check-in.
This is
Okay.
your check-in.
I remember y'all's check-in.
Oh, I checked in. I just brought the wife and we got it.
Spiritually, I feel in a place of gratitude. I know that right now, career wise, I feel like I wish I was like way more, you know, doing what I, you know, this is what I would say, because my career right now is fulfilling me spiritually, because I get to pour into young individuals who don't know how to do some of the things that I've been able to do. And every time I leave those conversations, and every time I leave, I leave them, I feel like, man, this is what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah.
You know? But at the same time, I'm like, yo, I want to reach more people. And like, how do I reach more people? And like, I'm still trying to figure out this content creation thing, and like, how do I get better at it? And how do, you know, those things are like, but also just trying to stay in a place of like, yo, look where you're at. Like, you're healthy. The people around you are healthy. Like, you know, you are fulfilled and you're doing what you love for a living. Chill, brother.
Chill, brother.
Totally.
I feel like we always need to have kind of like we have that build like, oh, what, and instead of reminding yourself of like, okay, let's be present real quick and look around.
Right.
I'm a big one on that one. I'm doing that every day. I still am doing it. So hopefully, as I keep practicing, teaching myself how to be more present, then that will come through for that one.
Yeah.
Emotionally, I feel a lot more connected to you know, Iskra, my lady. I love her. Yeah, I feel good about, like, emotionally. I'm like, man, this is my partner. Like,
Nice.
I really love her a lot.
We've been having some fun. We've been having a really good time.
Yeah.
We've been
Love
really
that.
enjoying doing our podcast. We've been, you know, enjoying seeing each other's wins. He went off to New York. One of his rappers, Piff Marty.
Yeah, Piff Marty.
I don't know if you've heard of him,
Yeah.
but he
Great
was
artist.
essentially homeless pre-pandemic and just started like rapping, but he would use the comments from what people would ask him to rap about from TikTok. So people would say, like, can you talk about like men crying? And so he would create these whole raps about men crying and film the music videos on his phone, and like obviously blew up because it was really purposeful work. And he did stuff about like black fathers, and it's really impressive.
No, it's extremely impressive because, you know, in this climate of so much music with the content being things that aren't really,
A little bit surface level.
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
A little bit
with
just
no real substance.
totally.
twerking for the sake of twerking.
It's
And I
really
love to
cool
twerk.
to see
but
him have, you know, to see Piff have success with being himself, you know, being
Yeah.
himself. And that's another thing that's just like filling me up spiritually, like working with an artist who like I can be proud of. I can be proud of the content. I can be proud of the quality. I know he's proud of it. And, you know, working on things that like I'm truly passionate about.
I love that.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Physically, I gotta get back on the horse. I gotta get back on it. She's been making cakes, guys. She's been making cakes. I'm saying you can eat the cake, but when you eat too much cake, it's hard for you to get back into moving because the cake is on you. Because you know when you can feel the cake, you can feel it on your side.
Yeah, Brock knows what you're talking about.
Are you a baker?
So
No,
she's making
he's
the
the
cakes,
baker
guys.
and the
He's
eater.
the baker.
So I gotta
got
get
you.
better.
That's me too.
I gotta get better at, you know,
Not eating
just
the cake.
Just not eat the cake.
Well, eating the
Or eat a
cake,
piece
but
of
just
it.
it's called portion control.
100,000%.
I want the cake. You
I
get
will
the
make
cake.
a banana bread, and honestly, the ingredients are great. And I believe that baking at home is always better than just buying store bought. I know exactly what's gone into it. I can
Tastes
add
better.
protein powder in. I can do this. I can switch out coconut sugar. Da da da. But at the same time, when I bake the loaf on a Sunday and I wake up on the Monday and it's half gone.
Well, you know what? You're lucky there's half
so
there.
good,
Because
yeah.
in our house, it'll be like Saturday night, I'll just eat the banana. But it's done, honey. That's my problem. I don't say no either.
And
Yeah.
she making the cookies and stuff, and they good. But I'm gonna get back on it now. I like what you said
There you
about
go.
just, you know, just take one day at a time.
Portion.
It'll,
Yeah.
It'll
That's it.
turn into it. You know what I'm saying? It'll turn into.
It's
it,
easy
but, like,
saying it
wake
too.
up-
I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
but
It's so easy.
but eventually, you know, something will click, and we just got to keep on chipping on to get there.
Definitely.
It
Yeah.
feels good when you're getting stronger. It really
Totally.
does. There's nothing like it.
I know. I got to get back on the tonal.
We're all on it.
I
We're,
really
we're
do.
all on that same rally.
Everyone that's listening, let's be accountable together.
Yeah.
I'm
Let's
glad
do
we had
it.
that conversation.
Yeah.
Well, let's run with that. What would be your ultimate day for, like, if you could like plan, like I'll go first, okay? I'm like, yeah, I would
Yes.
like to get up at 6 o'clock, go downstairs for the first hour, walk on our treadmill, and read a book. So that way I get my walk in, for my cardio, incline walk, which is a great way to burn calories,
Nice.
and then get in the ice tub, and then I'm up. And then at 7 o'clock, I've done all three main things. I've fed my mind, I've fed the body, and I've walked the body,
Frozen
fed the
your
body,
balls
and I've
off.
frozen off. So 4 ticks. 4 ticks. That would be my ultimate start of my day, because that's how I want to do it. What would be your guys' ultimate start of your day, to have your ultimate day? Because after that, I'm going to crush whatever comes in front of me.
My ultimate day,
Yeah.
for sure, would be coming downstairs, working out. Working out. Then next, doing a hour of studying on TikTok or studying on socials, just studying. What I have learned is, like, they say the greatest currency is time, but like I think the greatest currency is like uninterrupted time. So like
Yeah.
when I come down, I'm working out, but that's it. I'm not on my phone. I'm not looking at it. I'm not talking. to
You're
anybody.
working out.
If I'm walking
Correct.
with my son, then I'm walking with my son.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Totally.
If I'm reading a book, then
Let you read
that's
the
when I'm
book.
reading a book.
But then do you ever feel overwhelmed when you need to catch up after that uninterrupted time? Because that's where I struggle. Is
Yeah.
I've been so much better about when I'm with my daughter just one-on-one, like I'm not on my phone. But then when I
Yes.
get it, like this morning even, it was just an hour, but I didn't
agree.
check my phone at all. And then I look and I was like, oh my God, emails, text.
100%.
And then I'm like, now I have so much to catch up on.
That's what'll happen. But I promise you, in that uninterrupted time that you've put into work, you will get so much done because
Yeah.
you've set a boundary.
Correct. You want, because when you're doing, and because when you're focusing on that work for that uninterrupted time, you're focusing on just that work.
Oh my God.
As opposed to like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do a text, I'm
Yeah,
gonna do this, and then the problem with that mentally is you just start straining yourself because you
100%.
start leaving your mind here and then
100%.
splitting and then
Yeah.
splitting.
It's like, yo, if it's answering emails, that's what you're doing for that hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, see,
Cleaning out
I'm
emails.
always answering emails.
Then and I told her, I was like, honey, you should have, if you always want to do it, have 3 half-an-hour windows throughout the day. Boom, 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 to do that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
It's definitely tricky to switch that off. I
Yeah.
think one thing that I loved was my dad's quote, actually, of if it has to be now, it has to be no. And I think that how I used that in my career was just like explaining to certain people around me, friends and, work relationships, that sometimes I'm not going to get back to you immediately. Does not mean I'm not excited, does not mean I'm not, motivated or caring about you. It's just like sometimes when it has to be now, it has to be no. And even like with big decisions, if sometimes I get overwhelmed and someone's pushing me, and I hate that when brands will do that. Sometimes they'll drop a quick thing and it'll be like, we need to know by the end of the day if you're waiting. Ooh, yo.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Yeah.
Like if it has to be now, then
Totally.
it has to be now, and just let that kind of take that pressure off me. That's not on me.
Okay, I like that. See, I feel like I also struggle with, I'm a person who, I try to respond as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And then when people don't respond to me, I'm like, are they mad at me? I get like so
She
in my
hits
head.
him with the
Got
double
you.
tap,
Oh my
the
God.
exclamation point, the question mark.
Hello.
Yo. All the time.
Well, that makes sense then. Like that's
Yeah.
something that you value, people getting back to you quick. So
Yeah.
you try and get back to people quick.
I
That
know.
does make sense.
Yeah.
Whereas like I definitely am one of my good girlfriends who's a mom of 4. She might not text me back for 2 weeks, but I actually feel like relief in a way, because
Perfect.
then like if I don't get back to her,
Right.
I'm just like, oh,
That's
well, she
true.
understands.
That actually happened today. Lala called me and I still never called her back, because at that time I was like,
Yep.
sorry, I can't answer right now. And then she texted me, was like, call me about Disney. I'm like, we're not going to Disney for 5 weeks. We don't need to talk about it today.
Right.
So I didn't put any importance on calling her back, but I was like, oh shoot, no, I just remembered. That's not me.
That's not you.
That's
Look
not
at
you.
you breaking. There you
There
go.
you
Breaking
go.
habits.
Okay,
One
so I want to.
Well, I need to hear you guys both morning routine. Ideal morning routine. Let's run through it real quick.
yeah.
Honestly,
Just so we have accountability.
it would be walking out and having a chef in the kitchen preparing me a delicious breakfast. Like a
So Philip's
really
not the chef?
nutritious. Philip, you know what? You do some great eggs. I'll
do
give you
do
that,
some
and you
great
can make some
eggs.
good pancakes.
So what else do you want for breakfast?
I would like an acai bowl.
Oh.
Yes,
Okay.
and you have to melt the coconut oil, and then you have to put the coconut oil on top, drizzle it, and then put it in the freezer, so then you get a layer of crunch from the coconut oil. Then you put your granola on top so it doesn't sink down.
Nice.
That's key. And then I would like a very delicious protein smoothie as
Perfect.
well. And it would be great to have my mom there to help me with the little one to get him dressed, because right now getting him dressed is an Olympic sport.
Oh my goodness.
Like we are sweating bullets. We're tag teaming. Okay, you go that way around the couch. I'll go this way. Like he's sat there. He's actually sat in the room right now. If you're listening, not moving an inch. But let me tell you, he turns into actual Spider-Man, and he can like climb up walls and
That's
do
for
flips
sure.
and. So yeah, just trying to catch him and pin him down to get him dressed for school is a whole thing.
100%.
So having the peace of like either getting up before him, which I don't think has ever happened in the 2.5 years he's been on this planet, because I am not a morning person.
Yeah, same.
So realistically, getting up when I have to because he's up, but having help, I think that would be really nice. And then enable me to nourish my body, go move, probably listen to a podcast or something while I'm doing like some cardio to warm up, then listening to the I don't know, my trashy 90s hip hop when I'm like lifting. Yeah, and then showering and enjoy my shower ritual, enjoy my body care and getting dressed and putting on a cute outfit. And then I feel like I'd be ready.
Boom. I like
Yeah.
that.
You know?
Honey, how are you going to
love
start?
that.
What's your ideal morning start?
This
Okay.
podcast isn't about us, honey.
I know, but this
I
is going to be
prepared
We're pretty
questions
intrigued.
that we have
listen,
not gotten to.
I want to know what your perfect morning sounds like, so I know, so I can take
Right,
mental
so you
notes,
can
so I can
start.
help you get to that, because I want my morning to
love
be
to
like
hear
that,
that.
and I want to help you, and then we can
Right.
move on to your
And
question.
then
I
when we
mean-
come back on here and you come back on Coupleish, we're going to
Yes.
ask you, did you ever get that perfect morning?
Yeah, and I'm going
Right?
to check in on your chef, so it's fine.
So Brock is the chef. I
Oh,
mean,
no.
he gets up and he makes summer breakfast. I'm not a breakfast person. So, I mean, he would make me whatever I wanted, but I'm just not really a breakfast person. He makes me lemon
What's
water
your
every morning.
ultimate morning, honey?
So ultimately, I mean, I would love if Summer slept past 7. That's, that would be ultimate.
Yeah.
Your ultimate morning. Her ultimate morning is 5:30 watching something.
Yeah,
Wow.
oh my God, we'll get into it. But
Yes.
she wakes up, and if she wakes up before 6, I will bring her in our bed to try to get her back to sleep for a little bit. Because I'm like, girl,
Agree.
the sun is not up yet,
Yeah.
like in Frozen. Anna's like, the sky's awake, so I'm awake. And I tell her all the time, like, Summer, the sky's not awake yet. Shh, go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Sometimes she does. Sometimes, no, she just sits straight up, and then she's like, she does her sign language, and she's like, sorry, excuse me. And she's saying, sorry, excuse me, because of this damn Cocoa Melon song.
Excuse
Yes.
me. Yeah, know the song.
These are the nice
Words
words
that you can say. Everyone that's listening hates us because that's in their head
And I
all
promise
day.
you, if they're in the car with their kids, they're looking around going, wait, what?
Right?
Kids hear that, hear one
One
beat
beat.
of the Mickey Mouse or the
Oh
Cocoa
my
Melon, and
gosh.
their ears
They're
perk up.
running.
It is crack
Yeah.
for
It
kids.
is.
But
Yeah,
I
so-
would say, for me, I do like to, I feel like if I don't work out by 11 a.m., it's probably not going to happen the rest of the
Agreed.
day. Unless I have a schedule with my personal trainer, who I don't have anymore, then I would do afternoon workouts.
Yeah.
But now we're at home, we got the tonal. So ideally, I would like to wake up, work out, but also have the help with Summer, so we can just focus on what we need to do in the morning.
Heard.
Because
Yeah.
then I feel like the rest of our day is
Heard.
way less
I know exactly
stressful.
what I'm going to do. Perfect.
Oh.
That's all I need. I just want to know that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, take away your questions, honey. We'll revisit.
Well, I mean, I wanted to like back it up. So at the beginning of this, I just wanted to talk about. So we were just listening to the first episode of y'all's show. So congratulations, you
Oh,
have a new
thank you so
podcast.
much.
Here's your media.
Thank you.
If you guys
Thank
haven't
you.
listened to it, check it out. It's called Coupleish. So your first episode, I was gonna ask you how y'all met, but I'm just gonna make everyone listen to your podcast instead because it's a very detailed
Oh, yeah.
story and
Cliff
it's
notes.
so interesting.
Cliff notes.
So
You guys traveled. You guys happen to end up in the same areas quite often, if not
Yeah.
on purpose or by accident, coincidence.
Right.
we did have a question about Paris.
Yeah.
Oh.
Brock wanted to know.
So
Okay.
these guys. So when you guys go back to hear the podcast, you'll hear a little bit more about Philip. And you guys were both in. You were walking in the
Yeah,
the
Paris Fashion
Paris
Yeah,
Fashion Week.
congratulations.
Shit's crazy.
Yeah.
I never thought that would happen in my life.
For those who don't know, Iskra started out. What you are a supermodel now. You have
I guess. Yeah,
No,
it's wild.
totally.
kind of-
You got 5 million followers on Instagram. You are crushing it. But I
Thank
know
you.
it wasn't an easy road to get there, and you struggled with that, and you know, people can be so negative when it comes to body image and judging.
sure.
And I know that's something you face a lot too. So I wanted to talk about that a little, but also Brock had the question about the Paris fashion show.
So this it comes into mind. This is probably what I would have done for sure. So I just wanted to see how it would work. But you guys were both in Paris. Oh, you're in Paris. He texts you. She's like, yeah, of course I'm in Paris. You see my post, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to take it. And then we go to a night out, and you're at an event.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, big, tall, dark, and handsome comes walking down the staircase. Like, So my question is, how did you know about that event? Who invited you to the event? Or did you figure out where she was going and you went to that event?
Because that's what Brock would have
Because
done.
that's what I would have done.
It's very interesting because she brought up the event. She was like, yo, I'm having an event. But then
I did not give you a location.
you didn't give me the
Oh, you
location.
don't need, okay, that's
I
all I
just
need to know.
mentioned-
I didn't really know that she was gonna be there.
But you knew.
I don't think I really knew that she was gonna be there. But one of my friends was hosting the event. One of my people in Paris. You know what I'm saying? So I come to the event like, yo, I'm in here, right?
Sketchy.
Right? I'm in here. And then I see the flyer of the event. I was like, oh, okay, this might have been the event. So now, you know, I was looking fly that night. I'm not gonna front. So boom, I walk up the stairs. I'm dapping up people. The music is, you know, I'm in here. I'm with that one. You know,
Here's my invitation.
I made it.
I knew I was looking cool. And boom, and then I saw her, and I was like, oh, and then she was looking at me. She was giving me the, you know, what is he doing here? But like,
I was
oh, he's here.
panicking because it was an event where I was invited, and this stylist was genuinely trying to like gauge my interest on investing in their brand. So my two PR like girls are there, and then this Philip walks in.
This Philip.
And I'm having to explain who Philip is. If you listen to the story, you know, it's now been like 8 or 9 months since I've known him, and we like were flirtatiously friends, and then he went back. Okay, I can't tell the whole story, but it's
Go to your
complicated.
podcast.
Yeah.
You know,
zero.
Yes.
right?
Podcast episode 0.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a coincidence / kind of not.
Yeah, because I make coincidences happen all the time. Like I go, oh, that's what's up. I'm going to put myself in a position
I
to
think
capture
that's
this
what it was.
opportunity.
I think that's what it
That's
was.
I
You
would have
gotta
done
put
it. I would
yourself
have been
in a
it.
position.
Right.
You gotta
Especially
put
hearing your
yourself
guys' story. So that was my question. I was like, honey, I pressed pause. I was like, you know what he did? He found out about this
That
event.
party,
She was going to be
couldn't be
there, and I was going to like,
Boom.
I'm rocking up and just showing
Yeah.
eyes.
There is times in my life, like career, and I feel like back in the day, before you, that I've definitely known, like, had that sense.
Yep.
If like,
100%.
okay, if I go there or if I do this, I could potentially.
Really?
And I feel like that's really important in life, like to go and just take those risks, go and put yourself in a scenario, in positive ones, obviously, opportunistic places. Because you never know what might happen.
100%.
Instead of just
Yeah.
staying in all the time. And I would have friends that were like, why am I single? Or why is this not happening? And I'm like, because you're not going out.
Put
You're not
yourself
meeting
in a
new people.
position.
You're not in different rooms or like meeting different types of people. Like, it's important to go and put yourself out there.
You never, because here's like the ultimate of taking that effort, right?
Yeah.
If you don't take that effort, you're in this position.
Yeah.
So if you take the effort and it falls flat on your ass, guess where you're at? Right where you
there.
were
Yes.
before you
Before you
didn't
didn't
try.
try.
Now, what could happen and what does happen, especially like if you're just persistent about things, or if you make
Absolutely.
you make things happen for yourself.
Yeah, the energy will come back.
1000%.
Yeah.
I think that's why we're probably all here as well, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's, yeah,
You know?
you're right. We all get it. We kind of all get it, and that's a tough
Totally.
message because I feel because my mother opposite. My mother's like, oh, maybe that wasn't meant to be. I was like, no. There's mum. And you know what? There's probably a middle ground there to realize, like, okay, when it's too much, when to, but at the same time, stick to what you got. Plan A all the way.
Plan A all the
That's
way.
his
Yeah.
consulting company,
That's my
Plan A.
consulting company.
Wait, what?
Well, we don't want to be
Yeah.
called Plan B. That's
Plan A,
taken.
you know what I'm saying?
It's taken.
Yeah, I wanted
Yeah.
everybody to focus on Plan A because like
Yeah.
that's what everybody tries to tell you to do is like go for Plan
That's
B
it.
or like
Right,
Yeah.
have a backup plan.
Have a backup
Yeah.
plan.
I don't believe in backup plans.
it's
Neither of
never
us
worked.
believe
Yeah,
in backup plans.
it never
Yeah.
worked for me.
I don't think I
agree.
have a backup plan, so.
I agree. I think definitely for me when we moved over
Well,
here,
I guess
like,
there's always OnlyFans. That could be
That's
a
true.
backup
That is the
plan.
backup
Shout out to
plan. Me and
OnlyFans.
you.
that's just a side hustle. That's not even a backup plan. That's just smart business right now. It's 2022. Telling you.
Smart business. Man.
Oh. Anyway. So we're all sitting here. We're 4 people who both have children, toddlers. And
Toddlers.
I wanted to get into some parenting stuff with you guys.
Nice.
I want to know, what is the thing that you guys disagree on the most about parenting?
That's really good.
That's a great question.
They show up randomly. For example, I listen to podcasts and I read books and do all the very obsessive mom things where I feel like I have to listen to everyone else's advice and then I take it all on board. And some of them are contradictory, right? So that's challenging. But one day I remember we were trying to go somewhere and then Philip goes, well, fine. Our son, he's talking to our son. He goes, fine, I'm about to leave. Like, I'm going. And I went, no, you can't say that. It's going to give him abandonment issues. And Philip goes, where on earth did you hear that? And I'm like, a podcast. I'm like, you can't do that. It's going to turn like long-term abandonment issues. And Philip's like, it's absolutely not. And I'm like, but isn't it worth trying not to do that just in case? So I think that's where we disagree.
Yeah,
because I
I'm
will
with you.
listen and learn and think I've like learned something that could be beneficial. And I want to implement it today and stick to it forever.
Yeah.
And he's a little bit like, it doesn't matter. He's 2. Like, he's not going to have abandonment issues.
She won't even have the conversation with me. She already implemented it and was like,
It's like me.
It's already a rule, but I haven't even told him it's the new rule.
you messed up.
And then, but I do the same thing. I do the same thing, especially for me as a parent. It's like, if I can read, then I can understand how to parent. And there's plenty of information for both sides of the party. You can read both. What happens if this happens or this, and then find a middle ground. That's my true way of. I'm like, that's how I'm going to parent. So if I can find a study that says this, I'm gonna like, oh well, that's it then, honey. Hey, honey, her schedule's this. We do this. Boom.
He's always there with like the science and the articles, and he'll send me articles and tell me this is why, we should let her cry it out in the crib for 5 minutes. And I'm like, well, I think that could lead to not like abandonment issues, but like emotional
issues.
attachment. And like, I feel like this, he wants to build her independence, but I feel like it might make her feel like when I need someone, they're not going to be here.
This
thing with
sleep
us.
training is one of the most like emotionally hard things to go through, because I will say we decided to kind of sleep train, and I felt horrendous. I felt like I was neglecting my child's needs, but when we weren't sleep training, and our child in particular only slept for 45 minutes. All through the night.
gosh.
45. We had the snoo, and our best friends would show us, and it would be like, blue, like so much sleep. And then ours would be like, bloop, bloop, red. It was really hard at the beginning. The first 3 months, it was pandemic. We had no family. We had no one there. It was just me and him thugging it out. And we knew we had to do something for our sanity. We had the yoga ball, and you read all the things, but we would be sweating, like go up and down, up and down,
Core
up and down.
strength was great.
Well, this is when it comes to sleep training, right? And it's like the cried out method. Everyone kind of thinks there's 2 options: you either don't or you do.
Right.
But the science behind I go to the science.
Science, I love how you say it.
So what happens when we sleep? When you go to a deep sleep, even as an adult, we sleep in like 2-hour cycles, because if you go to too deep a REM sleep, your body shuts off.
Wow.
So and I don't know the scientific term of it, but instead of that happening, it reminds you to wake up. So notice how as an adult you wake up and then you go like, oh, what was you hear something that wakes
Got
you.
you, yeah.
Then you readjust. That is the training aspect, where even if we don't do it now, they're going to have to know this skill set. And what's the most important thing to do for your body, for your mind, for anything? And that's have quality sleep. And so that's where I take my, I'm like, listen, this is a short-term like pain for a long-term gratification, because if she can have the ability to, because she's going to always do it. It's biology. We do it every 2 hours or around that. She's going to wake up, but how does she put herself back to sleep? And that is all I need to know. I'm like, okay, I am doing the right thing.
Right.
But it does break my heart.
But it does my head in. I'm just like,
hearing them
she's
cry.
crying. She needs me.
Can we really put it? The longest we've let her cry was probably like 14 minutes, and that
What?
was one time.
I was not there for that.
That was one time.
Oh no, we hit the 5-minute mark. I'm like, I'm going in.
I know, that was one time. That was when she was in Mexico checking out wedding venues, and I decided to sleep train our kid.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have certainly
That's
never
probably
gone
a
past
good time
5.
to do it,
It was
honestly, because
perfectly.
it's always worse when mom is around.
Yeah.
1000%. And every time Philip goes away, he'll wake up so much earlier than when Philip's at home. It's like they just know. And it's like every time I walk past the crib, sometimes like he can smell me. And he's like, Mommy.
They know. They know.
They
Well,
do.
we had a really good baby monitor, and once I showed her his face, because
That's true. That was interesting. I
That he
watched
wasn't
his
in
face,
pain.
and it really helped me.
I was like, he's not in pain.
I like
Oh,
that.
see, Summer looks like she's in pain.
No,
there's-
Let's see.
There's
Wait,
different
wait,
types
difference,
of
too.
crying.
And
Where's your
you can
where's your
tell.
monitor at? If
can-
you can see his
Oh,
face.
it was like
He was in the snoo, so he was like laid
Oh,
fully
yeah,
back,
and
so
you
it was
can-
just right above him.
okay.
And it's so
Big
true
brother.
because when he was really upset, you know, like stomach issues, or one time, like he really hated the bath for a period of time, and his back was arched, and he was bright red, and you could tell he was like really upset. But then when it was the sleep stuff, it was more like, wah, wah,
Yeah,
and
like-
I was like, he's literally just yelling.
Yeah.
You know, and so like learning their cues, and when it's like upset, like I really need you, mommy, like, and then yelling, is anyone here? Oh, I kind of want to come out my crib, but
Is
all they know
anyone
to do
here?
is cry.
Right.
You're perfect. That's
So-
exactly it. If you got to understand.
That's what I had to.
Yeah, it's
I know.
and we understand our child's cries.
Of course,
100%.
but honey, there are the times when we're in that 3 to 5 minute mark where I'm like, she sounds like she is in pain.
Right.
And
I
it
know
is
this.
emotional pain. She is not in
then-
physical pain.
and then once you
but
put
I
kids-
am now in pain.
My one rule on that, I'm like, honey, she can put her binky in her mouth, and then she's.
And
That's
then
it.
she's fine,
She's
and
fine.
then
Which
she
means
pulls it
she's
out,
not
she's
like
like-
hysterically crying.
Right.
Which means she's not hyperventilating. She's
No,
straight
I
up
won't let that happen.
yelling, and then like, oh
Right.
well, that didn't work.
So-
What can I do next?
I do have one horror story though. So
Okay.
as we were going through it, and we did the gradual kind of like, and yet he never cried or screamed for longer than 15 minutes, something like that, right? And you only do it for like 3 days, and the first
That's
day it's
it.
15, the next day it's
Fine,
5, and then by the third day it's like, he's just like, oh, okay, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go to sleep. But our friends who, their child when they started this was 3.5 months.
Oh
well,
my gosh.
It's a little.
yeah, basically they went to the pediatrician. They were like, hey, we're thinking of sleep training. We're not getting any sleep. And the pediatrician was like, yeah, try the elimination method. Da, da, da. And then my friend goes, what's the longest you've ever heard of a baby crying for? And the pediatrician goes, I mean, maybe 3 hours would be like the worst ever. It would just never happen though. So what happened? That day, they try it. 2 hours, 57 minutes.
Oh,
my friend is
my
looking at her
gosh.
phone, and she's almost like crying. She's like,
Oh
I
my
can't do it.
gosh.
I have to go in. And then at 2:58, like 2 hours, 58 minutes,
Went
she
to
fell
sleep.
asleep.
Oh my gosh.
And it took them 2 weeks, but eventually, and she said that did change their lives.
And that's
Wow.
honestly, yeah. You're not just taking care of the kid at that point.
Right.
You're taking care
but
of the
it's so
parents and
hard.
yourself, and you're putting yourself on equal playing fields. You don't
Yeah.
love her more. You just love each other equally.
And I know that people listening to this are going to be like, that's awful,
Awful.
that they put their child through that. And I'm not saying I could have lasted that long, and I'm not saying like each to their own, but I think, you know, that friend in that position had to go back to work.
Yeah.
Like there were certain things where, I mean, if you've heard a baby waking up every 30 minutes through the night for 3 months straight, it does something to your mental health.
Really does.
Yeah, our
can't
friends.
you can't show up as a mom in the daytime with your child.
Mm-hmm.
You're not ready to take them and have a fun day at the park or connect with your other friends or do it. Like you really can lose
Totally.
yourself in that. So
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm a big believer in whatever you need to do to be the
Yes.
best version of yourself to show up for your child, do that. If that means getting a night nurse, if that means doing the sleep training method, whatever you
Right.
have to do so that you can be the best version of yourself.
Yeah, and at no point am I telling anybody that my way is the right way to raise your kids because they're your
Right,
kids.
of
You
course.
know,
No,
you just
I
tell
just
me
like
that.
because they're our kids. I do like letting parents know, like, hey, we're all going through it's the best part is talking to other parents and realizing,
sure,
oh, we
everyone.
have the same stuff, and it just
Yeah.
normalizes your craziness and
sure.
reminds you, I'm present, I'm blessed, it's okay.
It
Yeah.
is my new favorite thing of just like if I meet a stranger or a fan or whoever in life, if they are also a parent, I'm like, you immediately can talk about
Oh my
anything
gosh.
about your kids.
anything.
And I feel like Brock is, I was just doing a podcast yesterday and I was saying Brock is the type of person where he could walk into a room and there could be a homeless man and a billionaire. And he's going to be able to have a deep conversation with both of them, relate on different levels, and they're both going to be interested in what Brock has to say.
I'll probably
he
get
just
that
has
homeless guy a job from the billionaire, really.
Right.
figure out how to network that bad boy.
But Brock just has that presence about him where he can walk into a room and literally make conversation with anyone. It's a gift.
Yeah.
I personally cannot. If I don't really know who someone is, I might just, kind of do my own thing or check my emails or whatever. But over the past year and a half, when I meet someone who's also a parent, I'm like, oh my God, okay, so does your kid do this?
Immediately.
And then it's this, and that. Immediately.
I know. And I think we have to. I think that as many of the books that you can read and there's videos you can watch, there's just something very... I'm sorry, our child is now. There's just something reassuring about knowing that no one has the perfect answer. No one has the perfect experience.
Yeah.
And we're all figuring it out.
Totally.
As it happens. And every child is different.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's the thing.
Even seeing our friends have a second and how the second one's completely different to the first one. And, oh man.
Yeah.
You're doing great. Anyone that's listening to this, you're doing amazing.
Have you guys had a conversation about another one, or how's that gone?
We've had multiple conversations. And I will say, I'm often... the reason why I would like a second is I'm an only child. So I feel like I lacked the experience of having a sibling. I feel like I lacked the experience of having a sibling, and I feel like I've seen some friends lose parents or go through things and have to do that on their own.
Yeah.
And they've all said to me, I wish I had a sibling to go through this and understand what that felt like with me.
Wow, yeah.
See, and I also grew up an only child until I was 12 and a half, and then my parents had my sister. So, and I felt like I didn't miss out on any of that because I also had a lot of cousins that were close in age, and we all grew up so close. But the older I've gotten and watching my parents lose their parents and then watching friends of mine, I have 3 friends who don't have either parent anymore and several who don't have one or the other. And one of those friends is an only child.
Right.
And that right there just makes me want to give her a sibling. Not anytime soon, but I'm like, I don't want her to end up going through life alone. The childhood stuff, I'm like, I had a great childhood. I'll give you a great childhood.
Yeah.
You don't need someone to play with. But it's the later in life that you have to think about. And I would not want to put that burden on her.
I agree. And it's also very apparent that Philip is black and I'm white. And so having a child that's mixed.
All right.
Well, anyone that's listening might not know.
Yeah, you're right.
Basically, I feel like we have a child now that is not going to be able to, they're going to relate to us in certain ways, but not fully. Right? I'm not going to know what his experience is like because he's going to be mixed with both white and black culture.
Yeah.
So I do think having a sibling could help him feel less alone in that experience, and just having someone in the family unit, because either side of our family is in interracial relationships.
Yep.
So there's no one else in my side of the family that's, dated someone or married someone or had children outside of their race, and the same with your side. So we're the first people to do that in our families. So he really is the only mixed child in all of our family.
Oh, wow.
So I do think maybe having a sibling is probably going to be important, because he might turn around one day and be like, oh, there's no one else in my family that looks like me.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
that's something we didn't even think of. You know what I mean?
So I think that,
Wow.
but simultaneously, I don't feel ready. I don't feel prepared for a second. Seeing our friends, like, we went on a family trip. It was not a vacation, it was a family trip.
That's what they're
That's
called
what we
now.
do
They are
now.
not
That's a family
vacations
trip.
when the
It's a
kids come.
family
It's a
trip.
trip.
You're just doing what you do in a different location.
Yeah.
Near a beach. It's lovely though. Not complaining. But we had 2 families that had 1 child and 2 families that had 2. And it was like night and day.
Yeah.
Like, we were able to just maneuver and do things, and they just, like, when one was upset, they all had to leave the beach, or they all had to go and do something. And then if one of them was doing something, then they had to cater, and it was a lot harder. We watched it and we were like, "Ooh, we're not ready for that."
That's a great hands-on experience to see that there.
Yeah.
I'm seeing people too who were pregnant when I was pregnant who are now pregnant again, and I'm like, oh my God, already?
Yes.
What?
No, I feel like I'm
it's
just
like
getting
you
back to
can
myself.
do that. Like, it's
Totally.
a blessing. It's a blessing,
Yeah.
whether it happens or not. But if you can control it, if you can, you know what I'm saying? Then yeah, for sure. Because
Hats off
once
to
you do have
parents
multiple,
out there. I'll tell you that.
Seriously,
I'm
it
telling
is
you.
the hardest best, but also for me, scariest job in the world. And I wanted
100%.
to ask you both as parents, do you have, I mean, I think everyone has certain fears around parenting, but what would you say is your biggest fear around being a parent, and how have you worked on trying to overcome that?
I have two big ones. Firstly, because I had an eating disorder growing up and body image disorders, I am hyper aware that food and body, and I think I'm so hyper aware that I might make more problems than there is. For example, like I hear everything when someone talks about food or bodies around him, and I'm immediately like, don't say that. And I'm like, oh, that's probably worse than just letting it go. For example, my mom is the type of person to be like, oh, we're gonna have a brownie as a treat, and then like, oh, but I need to lose 5 pounds, so I'll have to work out after the brownie. So she has attached, a lot of, you got burn it to earn it, like that whole mentality. And I think that our generation and the younger generations has had access to understanding that we can try and separate emotion and food and shame and all of these things, but their generation completely missed the boat, and it's really solidified.
And you see it with your grandparents, and we have
so much.
Yeah,
it's hard, and it's I don't want to say it's too late, because I always talk to my mom, but she's gonna, when someone comes and they've lost weight, immediately say, you look so good, you've lost weight. And I keep telling her, but what if they were sick? What if they didn't want to lose weight? Like, losing weight isn't always a success story. It isn't the only measure of worth. And I think that for me, making sure that my child knows that they are more than their body, more than their size, but also has a healthy relationship with food, right? So building that from the get-go with positively talking about food, no shame, no guilt surrounding food, allowing him to have what he wants, but have intuitive eating so he knows when he's full. So I think the best phrase I've learned is just when it comes around food, just be like, is your tummy full? And just like stick to that. Don't be like, oh, you got to finish your plate, or you need to eat the broccoli that's on your plate, or just really letting go of any of these things that, oh, I wish he ate XYZ, or I wish he didn't want to eat all those cookies, and trying to not put the wrong words in there to then make it an unhealthy relationship with food like I had. So I think my overthinking is my biggest fear. And my other biggest fear is being white and him maybe resenting me in some sort of way, or not feeling, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes I watch things in the media and rappers, or they talk about kind of their white family in a less proud way than their black heritage, but I understand why people do that, because it's so much harder to exist being black. And so I think that people really have to go out there and be loud and proud of that culture. So I just want to make sure that he's never embarrassed that I'm his mommy or something. That's like a weird fear, but I'm just being completely vulnerable. But that's something that's like, I don't want him to ever wish that he was more black or more white. I just, want him to be happy being himself.
Listen, but just talking to you guys as parents and all that, I don't think you're going to run into those issues.
Right.
Because you're to be able to be aware of what you're saying around them all the time, which you are. We both you guys are. Yeah. I mean, you guys just get to lead by example. So hopefully that fear kind of like goes down as he starts growing up, and he does run to you, and he does, because you guys are going to have those conversations,
Yeah.
and you guys are going to be his biggest supporters too. So
for sure. I mean, it's already happened.
Yeah.
We were at the trampoline park a couple months ago, and there's a little girl who's maybe like 7 or 8, and she walked up to him and was like, "Why are you brown but your mommy's white?" And that was like the first time I've had like a child say it, and I was like, oh gosh, how do you respond? Because, I don't want to say anything that makes the little girl feel bad for saying that, because she's genuinely curious.
Yeah.
But I wonder if her parents have ever had a conversation with her about that, or maybe she doesn't have any friends that are brown or mixed or black. So it's just like navigating those conversations. I know there's no perfect way to do it, but I definitely live in fear of like, geez, I don't want to like F it up, basically.
I think you just saying that, on being vulnerable like that and talking about it, is the only way to navigate that. Bring it to front of mind. So well done on that.
Thanks, appreciate you.
With me is just trying to make sure that he has a balance of adversity in his life, because he won't grow up and go through the same things that his dad went through, or that his mom went through. because
he's never gonna be hungry.
Oh no,
ever.
he won't
He's
ever
never
have to sleep in the car. He won't
not
ever
gonna have
sleep in the
secondhand
truck. Nah,
clothes if he
won't ever
doesn't,
be
you
in
know?
that place.
Yeah.
But also, you need those things. You need those things to make you who you are and to give you
Right.
tough skin. So just trying to have a balance of like teaching him like the value of hard work and teaching him those things that I know that he'll already have, but like, man, he just won't have to go. And me being compassionate and empathetic of like, yo, this is a different time. Like
Yep.
you don't have to parent the same way that you had to parent, 10
true.
to 20 years ago. They don't have to go through those things because like the generation before us is way braver and way more outspoken and like they not playing. Like Gen Z, they not playing. And his generation, they're not playing either. So just to have be empathetic in that and try to like do what I can to guide him and use my wisdom and my experiences to help him.
Yeah.
as he
How do you feel like
navigates.
that with Summer? Because she's going to have a completely different upbringing in life to what you guys had.
I know we've talked about this.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know you guys grew up very differently. Brock and
Yeah.
I grew up very differently. He grew up on a dairy farm in New Zealand, and I grew up just outside of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So we had very different upbringings, and we are fortunate enough to provide Summer with a good life and multiple homes and cities to go to, and
Yep.
I always want her to have that, but he's like, no, like she needs to learn the hard way, and like it just. But I'm like, but honey, like
She don't
yes,
have to do that.
she can sit in a middle seat on a flight to Australia if that makes you happy. The kid's not always going to be flying first class, okay?
Right,
Not
right.
always.
I didn't
Women,
grow
not
up.
always. After 19, then she can move up there, okay? Otherwise, she's back there, and I'll sit back with her.
Okay.
You know, that's the thing.
No, we fly coach most of the time, unless it's on someone else's dime. Like,
Yeah,
I will
that's
be
the same as
Thanks,
us.
brother.
Southwest, you
Yeah,
know.
that is us.
So no, but I'm like, but there will be times where, you know what, we're going here, we can afford, like when we flew to our wedding in Mexico, I'm like, no, we're gonna fly first class. It was business class. It wasn't like
Yeah,
the
lay
lay down
flats.
pods or anything. But I'm like, sometimes we are gonna do those things because we're able to afford that lifestyle for her. It's not going to be all the time.
Yeah.
When we do make the flight back to Australia, we are certainly not gonna be in first class because that's too damn expensive.
Yeah.
And that's on our dime.
Down
So,
payment.
Especially right now.
yeah.
No, I think 100%. You got to figure out that balance, right? Because how many lessons did we learn in the
yeah. Oh my
struggles?
gosh.
How many lessons did we teach ourselves
Yeah.
in the misery and the pain and the and like
My
the-
whole motivation was to get out of the town I was in because there was nothing there, you know?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
When we lived in San Diego and we were renting on the beach, I was like, honey, we live on the beach. My daughter cannot have this as a backyard.
And I'm like,
I mean, I
yes,
want her to
she
have
can.
it, but as like a holiday where she doesn't know we own it. Like, I don't know. Maybe we just don't tell them what we're really
Sad.
doing. Like, we just keep it very low. But that's a challenge because
It's such a challenge.
ultimately we want to grow up and take care of our family and then hopefully leaving a legacy behind.
Yes.
And then we want to encourage them to do the same thing so that, but then at what point do you lose that driving force of the legacy?
Exactly.
And then just become kind of like
'Cause there's-
complacent and kind
Yeah.
of entitled, which is the big
Yeah.
That's
one,
one.
and go down that rabbit hole.
So weirdly, in book club this month that I was doing, it was the Vanderbilt, and it was about however, the generations, how the wealth died off because of that sense of entitlement, because it was like, oh, I just get passed down all of this property,
This is
all of this
coming.
money. I don't have to really work. I don't have to really like figure out how to keep, building. I just complacency, and then like after a few generations, it's gone.
Maybe
Like,
that's it. Maybe we just we start a business where like families that have wealth, we manage that wealth and no one else knows about it. So the family doesn't even fucking know. You know what I mean? So the kids don't actually know.
Right.
Yeah.
They're like, when I die, you get $100,000. You get and you give them a blueprint. They're like, this is how you should
do
live
it.
comfortably.
Yeah.
That's what we. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Live comfortably and then take care of it, and that's the goal.
yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So I have a question, a parent question. We are going through the hitting phase.
Oh.
Yes. And it kind of came out of nowhere, but we had actually done a trip to LA and we took it just me and Philip for once. Usually we bring him, hence why he's here this trip, because we noticed when we got back, his energy shifted.
Yeah.
And he was like literally hitting me in the face, super upset all the time. And it was shocking. Like I'm trying to hold back tears when it happens because I'm like, whoa, my child is really angry at me, like really upset and treating me differently than I've experienced. And I'm like, what do I do? And then what was really, again, made me super upset was we went to the park and he does a little soccer class. And then afterwards, he was on the steps, and an 8-year-old girl came to go up the steps, and he was stood there. He's 2. And he said, no. And I was like, oh, what's going to happen now? She basically ignored him, tried to keep walking. He smacked her in the face.
No.
Yes. Don't laugh at this. I was absolutely humiliated. And I was
I
like,
know, because
That happened to Summer at the park, and
know,
I was like, "Where's this kid's parent?"
that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I'm like, oh my gosh, that her mom, the
You were
kid's
the
mom
parent.
is
That's why I laughed.
I was the parent. I was like, no, and he's 2, and he's like whacking this girl in the face, and she didn't say anything because she was stunned, because she didn't expect a 2-year-old to just smack her in the
Right.
face. And so then I went over and I was like, apologize, and he would not apologize. He would not apologize, and I was like, please just say sorry. It's not, we do this all the time. Usually he's good at saying,
Sorry, excuse me.
yes.
that's Coco. Yeah, that's,
And it wasn't until we were like leaving because then obviously I did the like, it's time to leave the park. You've hurt somebody's body. We're leaving. And as we were leaving, I kept trying to tell him, can you please say sorry? Can you please say? And then when we got so far that she would never hear it, he then said, sorry. And I was just like,
that's a tough one, right?
That
That's,
was a tough
really
one. But
tough.
this is what I will say. When he did come home and like she sent him with me, and I'm like I'm that guy, right? And we had a talk, and I was talking to him, and he told me why, and then I told him don't do it again, and then he wasn't looking at me, and then I said, no, look me in my eye and tell me that you won't do that anymore. And he looked me in my eye, and it was the first time I was like, oh my, this is like, I am pouring in, this is a human now. Like this is like my child. Like this is happening.
he's connected.
Yeah, we're connected now. And he understood me. And like to have that moment, I was like, oh wow, like this is important. Like these moments are important, to just teach them and to just do what you can to like be an example.
And that's it's how you respond to that action, right?
sure.
And it's not
That's
even
so
just like the
true.
hitting
So
action. It's
true.
like if it's the falling over action, or it's how we respond to any type of stimulus to your kid. And the first one is like, oh my god, it's the helicopter
That's
parent.
me.
And boom.
I'm the helicopter.
it's hard not to.
Yeah.
We're more emotional creatures. I just
Yeah.
think it's like,
I get it.
Fight
And
or
then
flight.
it's kind of figuring, but then having those conversations and figuring out what feelings did you feel to get there.
Right.
And that's the I think that's the difference in parenting. I've never been this open to talk about. Well, talk to me. But my dad would have the time to talk to me. He's too
Right.
busy just saying
just probably hit you back or
yeah,
whatever,
he's just
you
like
know.
bloody,
Yeah.
and then boop, here I
Another
am.
way we were raised very differently.
And so I've talked it through with a lot of people, and I will say I think the best piece of advice that I've taken on board from it was showing that you're human and you were impacted emotionally by it without like putting so much pressure on your child, because it's not up to your child to make you happy or sad, but just like letting yourself express to your child how you are feeling, so then it models expressing your feelings to your child,
Yeah.
right? And then also using your partner as a way to help them empathize with you. So for example, with the hitting thing, instead of in that moment when he's emotional, he can't understand what's happening, I'm emotional, it's not a good time for anyone to try and figure this out. Take it back home and then come to Philip and say, so Philip, I have to talk about something with you today. Unfortunately, when we were at the park, so-and-so hit so-and-so in the face. And it made mommy really sad because I saw that it hurt the girl, and then, he wasn't able to apologize. So I just wanted to let you know, Philip, that this is how it made me feel. And I was hoping that maybe you could speak to him and you could work through it. And apparently sometimes when they hear that, and it's not like so forced and direct where they can just like run away or be,
They listen.
they're
yeah.
listening.
He's listening right now.
Definitely.
listens.
And then I started over congratulating him when he did something.
Rewarding the good
Yeah.
behavior,
very
right?
sweet,
Totally.
you know what I'm
Rather than
saying? Like,
punishing bad behavior.
yeah, when I had asked him to do something for one time and he just did it. So I like gave him a chocolate raspberry. He loves these chocolate raspberries. He was like,
Frozen chocolate
I was so
raspberries.
surprised. I was like, yo, what is this? What? What?
Maybe
So this
that's
is
what. Maybe
happens?
that's what I saw a couple of them. I want to
this
start
is what
baking
happened.
with summer and do
You
like
know?
kids treats, like chocolate raspberries, gummy
Yeah.
bears, and like
then,
watermelon
he was
strips.
wondering why
And
this
do
is
that.
happening, and I'm like, yo, it's because this. Like, I asked you to do something, you didn't say anything. Like, you just went and did it. And he was like, oh, okay,
Right.
registered.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of raising kids, guys.
Totally.
Yeah, right. And we don't know if we're doing it right. But
No, it sounds like you guys are doing everything right. And I feel like I could talk to you for hours. So I think we're going to have to do a part 2.
Right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I know
I
you
would
did
love to
good.
do that again. That
Yeah.
was a great note to end it on. I was going to ask you what your advice was, and you just gave it to me. So I love that. I love you guys. Thank you so much
Of
for getting into
course.
some shenanigans with
course.
us. Please tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find us on Instagram at Iskra, Iskra.
And at Philip A. Payne, 1L, guys.
And we're on TikTok too, trying to be cool parents.
Yeah, get on the
Yes.
tick.
Get on the
Love
tick.
that. Thank you guys so much for listening. And if you haven't already, be sure to check out my merch at shop.dearmedia.com.
For this all my life, because my